Hi, I'm Ben. 36. And last month, my boss asked if I could make myself disappear for a while. He said it like he was asking me to pick up milk. It started 3 weeks earlier, the morning the company's ethics audit landed in everyone's inbox. I work in facilities, not finance. I fix broken chairs and flickering lights, but I'm the guy who knows the building's secrets. The crawl spaces, the forgotten storerooms, the fact that the renovation closet on the third floor still had boxes of shredded documents with the CFO's initials on them. I never cared. I just wanted my paycheck and a quiet life with my daughter, Ruby. She's 8, all knees and missing teeth, and she names every pigeon she meets. Our apartment overlooks a used car lot and a crooked maple tree. It's not much, but it's ours. The morning everything cracked, I was on my knees fixing a loose floor vent outside the executive wing when I heard the CFO say my name. Not Ben, the janitor, but Benjamin Harper. Full name. The tone people use right before a problem turns into paperwork. Does he still have access to the storage keycards? Someone asked. Yeah, the CFO said. We'll clean it up before the audit hits external review. Nobody looks twice at maintenance logs. I froze. I didn't even know what it was, but my body did that tiny animal shiver that means get out now. That night, I checked the digital logs. They'd cloned my ID badge for after-hours entries into rooms I'd never entered. Someone was building a story, and the star was me. When I showed the data to my supervisor, he stared too long before answering. Ben, maybe you should take some time off. Be with your kid. We'll sort it out. Time off. Like witness protection with a PTO form. I went home and made Ruby spaghetti from the box with the dinosaur on it. She asked why I looked weird. I told her sometimes grown-ups get homework they didn't ask for. That night I couldn't sleep. The company phone blinked with messages I didn't open. Instead, I pulled the old tablet Ruby uses for drawing and searched the one place they never think to check, the janitor's camera system. Every maintenance camera feeds into a forgotten server I set up years ago so no one could accuse me of losing tools again. What I found on the footage wasn't a mistake. It was a setup. And by morning, I had proof and a decision to make. I didn't go to work the next morning. I went to the park with Ruby. She was in her red hoodie, pushing a plastic truck down a hill of damp leaves while I sat on the bench pretending to read emails. I wasn't pretending well. The video file on my phone looped in my head: timestamp, hallway light flicker, and 2 figures using my badge to access the compliance storage room at 11:37 p.m. One of them? The CFO. The other? HR Director Ms. Kemp, who once gave a presentation on integrity as brand currency. They weren't even careful. You could see her laughing as they hauled boxes of paper into the janitor's closet and fed them through the portable shredder. The next morning's log had my name stamped all over it. It wasn't paranoia. It was math. When Ruby ran back from the slide, cheeks pink, she said, "Daddy, your phone's doing the buzz thing again." It was my boss. Again. "Ben. Call me. Please. There's been a misunderstanding." I almost laughed. Misunderstanding is corporate code for "we got caught mid-lie." Instead of calling, I forwarded the footage to my personal email, then to a friend who worked IT at a law firm. "Tell me if this is what I think it is," I texted. He wrote back one word: fraud. That night, I found a letter taped to my apartment door. Company letterhead. "Administrative leave pending investigation." That's HR for, "we need time to burn the evidence before we fire you." Ruby peeked over my arm while I read it. "Did you do something bad?" she asked. "No," I said. "But somebody wants it to look that way." She nodded like it made sense. "Kids are better at gray areas than adults." "Then tell the truth," she said. "I will," I told her. "Just not yet." What I didn't tell her was that I had one more piece to check. The maintenance cameras were local. The company's system stored backups off-site, and I still had credentials. So at midnight I grabbed my tool bag and my old access card, and I drove back to the building. You ever notice how offices at night stop pretending? No coffee smell. No keyboard chatter. Just machines breathing. The security guard, Theo, waved me through. "Late job?" "Yeah," I said. "Lose vent again." He chuckled. "Man, you're always fixing things that ain't broken." "Not this time." I took the elevator to the sub-basement where the servers hummed like an enormous heartbeat. Plugged in my drive. Downloaded 3 terabytes of silence-breaking truth. As I packed up, I heard footsteps. And a voice I knew too well. "Ben," said Ms. Kemp, standing in the doorway. "We need to talk about what you think you found." The way she said it, calm, steady, like a teacher catching you with a cheat sheet, almost made me forget she was the one committing corporate arson on paper. "Kemp," I said, trying to sound casual. "Didn't expect to see you here after hours." She stepped closer, heels sharp against the concrete. "You shouldn't be here either. You're on leave." "Administrative leave," I corrected. "Not dead." Her smile didn't move her eyes. "You took something that doesn't belong to you." I held up my tool bag. "A wrench and a flash drive?" "Footage." Her voice lowered. "Confidential material. If you share that, Ben, you'll ruin more than your job. You'll ruin people's lives." "Their lives?" I said. "Or their bonuses?" She exhaled through her nose. "You don't understand how this works." "Funny," I said. "That's what my boss told me before I found you two playing office campfire with the company's tax records." She froze just long enough to confirm everything. Then her tone flipped, gentle, persuasive. "Listen. If you delete it, we'll make this right. Quietly. Severance, recommendation letter, NDAs, all the nice little things that keep your life simple." I looked her dead in the eye. "My daughter's 8. You almost wrecked her father's name for convenience. There's nothing simple left." That's when I noticed her hand twitch toward her phone. I didn't think, I just moved. I yanked the power cord from the wall, killing the lights. She swore, a loud echo in the dark. My flashlight clicked on, narrow beam, catching her face pale and furious. "You can't fix this," she said. "I'm an engineer's kid," I said. "Fixing's the only thing I know." I walked out past Theo at the front desk. "Everything okay?" he asked, seeing the look on my face. "Not yet," I said. "But it will be." By the time I got home, my email had exploded. 3 messages from legal, 2 from no reply at Corp Security, and 1 from my lawyer friend, "Don't answer anything. Call me first thing." Ruby was asleep on the couch with her tablet open to a drawing she'd made me, her, and a big building with a heart over it. She'd titled it, "Daddy's Work." The irony hit hard. The next morning, the company called again. This time, not HR, corporate counsel. "Mr. Harper, we'd like to offer a resolution that benefits everyone." I laughed. "You're going to have to define everyone." The voice hesitated. "We can discuss numbers." That's when I knew I wasn't just defending my job anymore. I was holding the detonator. And part of me, the tired part that had patched every broken thing for everyone else, wondered what would happen if I actually pressed the button. The resolution meeting was in a glass conference room overlooking downtown, the kind of space meant to make you feel small and replaceable. They'd even ordered pastries, because nothing says reconciliation like croissants over corporate crimes. Across the table, Kemp, the CFO, a company lawyer, and my supervisor, pretending to be Switzerland. I'd worn my only decent shirt and brought the flash drive in my pocket like a loaded weapon. The lawyer started. "Mr. Harper, we appreciate your diligence, but there's been some confusion about what exactly you have in your possession." I leaned back. "Not confusion. Evidence." He smiled with the patience of a man used to billing by the hour. "Let's not make this adversarial. Then stop suing your own employees by proxy." A flicker, the CFO's jaw tightened. "We're prepared," the lawyer said, "to offer a generous severance and full benefits continuation. You'll sign a non-disclosure, and we all move on." "Move on from fraud?" I asked. Kemp jumped in. "Ben, you're a facilities guy. You don't understand how these things read on paper." "I understand shredded paper," I said. "And doctored logs. And how you used my ID badge like a ghost." The CFO leaned forward. "Do you really want to die on this hill?" "Die?" I said. "No. Build on it? Maybe." He looked to the lawyer, who gave a tiny nod. "Double the severance," he said. 50,000, if you hand over all copies right now. 50 grand. For a man 1 missed paycheck away from a panic attack, that number sang like a siren. Ruby's braces, rent, everything gone in a blink. But then I saw the reflection in the glass, me, small, surrounded by suits. That's what they counted on. That's what they always counted on. So I took a breath. "Here's my counteroffer," I said. They perked up. You resign publicly, both of you, I said, nodding at Kemp and the CFO. You send an email to staff taking responsibility. I'll hand over the footage after the audit concludes. Kemp laughed. You think you're some kind of whistleblower hero? No, I said. Just a janitor who remembered to keep the receipts. The CFO's voice dropped. You release that footage, and you'll never work in this city again. Then I'll work in another one. I stood, palms sweating, heart hammering. I didn't even have an exit line. Just walked out. On the way down, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. You don't know who you're messing with. Delete the footage. Now. Another one followed. Nice kid, by the way. Ruby, right? I stopped cold in the elevator. And that's when I realized they weren't trying to scare me professionally anymore. They were coming for me personally. You don't know fear until you read your child's name in a threat from someone who wears cufflinks. I locked every window in the apartment that night. Moved Ruby's bed closer to mine. The city outside buzzed like nothing had changed, buses groaning, someone's music leaking through walls, but every sound felt sharpened, aimed. I called my lawyer friend Ethan. They know about Ruby, I said. Then it's time to stop playing nice, he replied. You file a whistleblower report with the SEC, and you do it tonight. Don't send it from your home Wi-Fi. Don't use your phone. You're not paranoid, you're careful. He paused. And Ben? Make copies of everything. Keep one where even you forget it's there. So at midnight I drove to the 24-hour library, sat under flickering fluorescent lights, and uploaded the footage to a secure drive, anonymous form and all. I included timestamps, badge data, and my statement. When the confirmation email came through, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like jumping off a building and hoping the air below was water. The next morning, Ruby asked why I was still home. Because I'm working on something big, I said. She frowned. Bigger than the school science fair? Way bigger. Her eyes widened. Are you in trouble? Maybe. But the kind that fixes other trouble. She nodded like that was enough. Kids don't need full stories, just tone. By noon, my phone lit up again. Kemp. The CFO. Even my boss. Missed calls stacked like bricks. Then the email came from corporate legal. Effective immediately, your employment is terminated. Your badge access has been revoked. Please return company property within 48 hours. It almost made me laugh. They were still pretending it was about employment, not exposure. At 3:17 p.m., the story hit the local business wire. Anonymous source alleges document destruction, fraud at Crestview Development Group. Whistleblower footage under review. Anonymous source. Me. By 5 p.m., reporters were camped outside the building. Kemp resigned. To pursue new opportunities. The CFO went on leave. And by 9 p.m., a black SUV was idling outside my apartment. Engine running. Lights off. Ruby was asleep on the couch. I peeked through the curtain. A man in a dark jacket, on his phone, not moving. My phone buzzed. Ethan again. You okay? There's someone outside, I whispered. Call the police. I did. They said unless he steps on the property, it's not trespassing. There was silence then. Ben, listen to me. Pack a bag. Go stay somewhere else tonight. Don't be the guy who assumes bluff. I looked at Ruby, small and safe in her blanket fort of pillows. That's when she stirred and mumbled, half asleep. Is the trouble over? Not yet, I whispered. But it's getting scared. By sunrise, I'd done what every single parent learns to do: move fast, pack quiet. 1 duffel bag, 2 toothbrushes, Ruby's worn stuffed turtle, and the flash drive copy taped under the car's glove box. We left the city before the coffee shops opened. I didn't have a plan, just coordinates. My cousin Leah's cabin 2 hours north. She's a teacher, one of those people who stock empathy like canned goods. When I called, she didn't ask questions. Just said, doors unlocked. Coffee's on. Ruby sang along to the radio the whole drive, blissfully unaware that her dad had become a corporate ghost. At the cabin, I told Leah everything. The footage. The threats. The SUV. She listened, jaw tight. Ben, this isn't about your job anymore. They're trying to bury you so they can bury the evidence. I already filed the report. I said. Federal, anonymous, encrypted. She nodded. Good. Now keep your head down. Easier said than done. The next morning, my face was on the local news. Maintenance employee linked to Crestview fraud scandal missing after whistleblower leak. Missing. Like I'd evaporated. Like I hadn't just made pancakes for a kid who thinks maple syrup fixes everything. I called Ethan. They're saying I vanished. Good, he said. Let them. You need time. Time for what? For the dominoes to fall. And fall they did. Within a week, federal auditors raided the company's downtown office. Computers seized. Documents boxed. Kemp declined to comment. The CFO's lawyer claimed it was all miscommunication. Meanwhile, I started getting calls from reporters. Real ones this time. I ignored them all, except one voicemail. A woman's voice, steady but kind. Mr. Harper, this is Valerie Tran from the Ledger. I've seen the footage. You did the right thing. But I think you should see something too. She sent a secure link. Inside? Internal memos. Company lawyers discussing containment strategies and personal leverage. Then the line that froze me. If Harper continues to resist settlement, we may need to escalate through personal channels. Daughter as influence point. They'd written it down. I felt my stomach drop, then tighten. Leah saw my face. What is it? I showed her. She didn't flinch. Then it's time to go loud. That night, sitting on the porch under a flood of quiet stars, I realized something. I'd spent my life fixing things quietly, behind the scenes. Now the only way to protect my kid was to make noise. So I opened my laptop, found Valerie's number, and hit call. Let's publish, I said. All of it. When the article dropped, it was like a fuse hitting oxygen. Front page, bold headline. Whistleblower alleges retaliation and threats in Crestview scandal. Underneath, my name. My face. My voice from the recorded call with HR. If you delete it, we'll make this right. Quietly. By noon, my phone turned into a grenade. Messages, news alerts, friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Half called me brave, the other half said careful. Then the real storm started. The FBI press release confirming an ongoing investigation. The CFO was arrested first. Then Kemp. Then the board's lawyer, the one who smiled too long. By dusk, cameras were camped outside Crestview's glass tower. Someone had scrawled "Fix yourselves" on the company logo in red spray paint. I didn't watch the news. I sat on the cabin porch while Ruby chased fireflies with a jar and Leah made tea strong enough to keep ghosts awake. When my phone finally rang again, it wasn't Ethan or Valerie. It was my boss, the one who told me to take some time off. He sounded smaller now. Ben, they're saying you recorded everything? Everything that mattered, I said. A pause. You ruined them. I thought about that for a long second. No, I said quietly. They built the ruin themselves. I just turned the lights on. That night, Ruby crawled into my lap with her tablet. She'd drawn a new picture me, her, and Leah on the porch. No city, no building, just stars. Above us, she'd written "safe now." I swallowed the lump in my throat. You think we are? I asked. She shrugged, serious. If the bad guys can't find us, and you don't have to fix stuff for them anymore, yeah? Safe. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But the next morning, the sheriff's cruiser pulled up the dirt road, dust curling behind it. A deputy stepped out with a clipboard and a sealed envelope. Mr. Harper? He asked. Yeah. He handed me the letter. Subpoena. Not from the company. From the U.S. Attorney's Office. Leah peeked over my shoulder. Is that bad? I opened it. Read once. Twice. Then sat down hard on the porch step. They want me to testify, I said. In court. Ruby tilted her head. Like on TV? Exactly like on TV, I said. Leah smiled. Then you get to tell the truth in front of everyone. Yeah, I said, voice shaking. Everyone. But truth, I'd learned, is heavy. And the weight was only about to grow. The courthouse smelled like paper and coffee that had been sitting too long. Truth and bureaucracy brewed in the same pot. Reporters filled the hallway. Flashbulbs flared like lightning every time someone important walked through the metal detectors. They called my name. Benjamin Harper, for the prosecution. I stood straight in my tie, the one Ruby picked because it had tiny blue dots, like stars, and walked to the stand. Across the room sat the CFO, pale and smaller than I remembered. Kemp, next to him, jaw set, pretending not to see me. Their lawyers whispered like ventriloquists trying to control ghosts. The prosecutor nodded. Mr. Harper, can you tell the court why you're here today? I swallowed. Because they thought no one would notice. Then I told everything. How they used my badge, how they shredded the evidence, how they tried to buy my silence, how the SUV idled outside my home like a punctuation mark. Every word I'd rehearsed alone in that cabin came out steady. When they played the footage, the one from the maintenance cameras, the room went dead silent except for the whir of the projector. You could see Kemp laughing while the CFO fed papers into the shredder. Then my badge number flashed on screen. The judge leaned back, unimpressed but unblinking. You understand the risk you took, Mr. Harper? Yes, Your Honor. What made you do it? I looked at the jury. My daughter asked why adults hide the truth when it's the one thing that can fix things. I didn't have a good answer. So I decided to make one. There was no applause. Just the kind of quiet that means people are really listening. By the end of the week, the verdict came down like gravity. Guilty. Fraud, obstruction, conspiracy. Kemp cried. The CFO didn't. He just looked at me, like he finally saw the janitor he'd underestimated. Afterward, Valerie caught me outside the courthouse. What now? She asked. Now? I said. I go back to fixing things that actually matter. She smiled. Like what? Breakfast. I said. My kid's been living on pancakes. At home, Ruby met me at the door, tablet in hand. She'd drawn another picture of me in the witness box, her in the back row, big words at the top, we told the truth. I framed it that night. Hung it above the new workbench I built in the corner of our small kitchen. Tools in neat rows, the way my dad taught me. Sometimes, when it's quiet and the city hums through the window, I catch myself checking the locks, not out of fear, just habit. But now, when the click echoes through the apartment, it doesn't sound like hiding. It sounds like closure. Because the truth doesn't fix everything, but it builds something solid enough to stand on. And this time, I'm not moving.